disorder. Basically what that means is at any given weight, whatever they are, they experience this sense that something is wrong and that they do not recognize themselves. So it's almost that dissociative out-of-body experience. So as you have really channeled psychology, Heather, in your work to drop this weight and to get down to a healthier body size, the next step for you is going to be addressing this hidden problem that was inside of you as a child. That when you were in high school, you looked at yourself at a healthy weight and you saw a giant person, and whenever you were at a larger weight, you saw somebody that you recognized, you're going to feel dysphoria for a while, and that's something I think you ought to go in to see a therapist for, because unaddressed, it probably will not get you to results.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
This may not be a bad idea. I mean, that's, again, the whole purpose of the show is to kind of remove some of that stigma and get people to look at therapy as not being like, I need to see a therapist because something's wrong, but I need to see a therapist just for the added support.
Right.
You go to, I mean, people will go to a personal trainer at the gym.
Just
therapy is, it's a personal trainer for your mind, basically. Yes. And if you're going through a tremendous amount of weight loss and it sounds like you're doing great, you're meeting your goals, that's awesome, why not just add that extra layer of support? I'd get in and talk to somebody as well.
Absolutely. I think that's the next step. And you're absolutely right, Nick. Sometimes when you remove the obstacles, you find big things underneath the ground.
Yep.
Right? It's after you've dug it up that you find the wires, and that's whenever a therapist can be really helpful too. So Heather, congratulations on your new goal. Congratulations on reaching the 100s. And now that you've arrived there, congratulations on the insight that you've achieved. And our recommendation is that you go ahead and maybe talk to somebody about body dysphoric disorder. I think that would be a good conversation to have.
Yeah. I mean, even if, and here's the other thing, Heather, even if you don't meet criteria for that disorder, even if there's no diagnosis, even if it's nothing, just having somebody that you can talk to on a regular basis that you can bounce ideas off of and say, hey, this is kind of what I'm feeling. And this is why also I think that what the Scoops got on their Facebook thing with that
support group,
I think is awesome. I love support groups.
Yes.
Because there's things that you can ask Jim and I. This is a great example where Jim can relate to that, and I'm like, I don't know, I got nothing. But having a support group like that, you've got a whole bunch of people right at your disposal. You can kind of bounce ideas off of, get some support, get some help.
Great question, Heather. Thank you so much for writing in.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will talk about sex depression. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's TheraProducer sponsor is Judy Schneider. Judy wants to give a shout out to her dear friend Dr. Haryardi Shashima Abdul Majid and her amazing team members at Mercy Malaysia. Mercy Malaysia offers early counseling and psychological support for persons affected by disasters and gives the victims a safe space to express their feelings and thoughts. Sharima is currently caring for her father, who is suffering from Alzheimer's, while still organizing and planning for Mercy Malaysia when time allows. Judy wants the world to know how proud she is of Sharima and her astounding work ethic, and just wants to say that she loves her, misses her warm hugs, and thinks about her wonderful father every day. If you'd like to join the party and help make this show possible and tap into all of our special content, you can join us at patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy. We're back. You're listening to Pod Therapy, and our next listener writes in about sex depression. So this one came to us from Twitter, Nick, and here's what it says. Hey guys, I'm a new fan and listener to the podcast. A really good friend recommended it, and I'm already 30 episodes in. Well, that's the end of that friendship.
So our feedback doesn't matter because they've stopped listening by now.
30 episodes in, I'm sure that's over. Fantastic work and very informative. So I have a question that I feel like I want to bring up. Is it weird for me to get depressed when someone is talking about sex? I'm 29 and never been in a relationship, nor had sex. I've had thoughts of maybe like getting a sex worker or a one-night stand, but I tell myself I shouldn't think like that. I should stick to finding somebody special and work on that relationship to see if it goes to sexual. I've honestly had to skim a bit of the episodes of the podcast that were sex-related, like the orgy one, because it made me feel depressed. Granted, I do want to have sex, but I can't. I don't know what to do with myself. Am I weird or am I not? Great question.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're weird.
No, you're not weird.
I mean, ultimately, I think it really just kind of depends on... Here we go again with that idea of the meaning that you put on it, right?
Right.
I mean, sex is a lot different now than it was in the past. People put a lot of different meanings on it, and there's not any meaning that's necessarily wrong with it.
Right.
It's just kind of whatever it means to you.
Yeah, but that I think is so important. Like, one of the things he or she is talking about here is something I want us to appreciate, and a lot of times we don't in society. Sex is a psychological and emotional thing. A lot of us want to believe that it can just be casual, just be physical, and I think it can be in the same way that, you can just enjoy an appetite, right?
Right.
But more often than not, it is a deeply psychological thing. And so when this person's talking about feeling depressed because they have not yet had sex, and the topic now feels harmful to them or feels aversive to them, that's an interesting takeaway, right? Because I can see where it's been built up to that point of like, what is this thing? And now I kind of feel shame because I haven't had it, and society kind of mocks those who haven't, and now I kind of don't feel comfortable with the topic. So there's a lot there that I think can happen because of the absence of engagement with the thing.
That's a good point. So I guess as a follow-up question, I'm kind of wondering, how long has this been going on? Like, is this something that has been developing over
the
past
aversion
several years?
Right.
Yeah. So then I guess what I'm kind of thinking is, if that's the case, then this is a learned behavior, right?
Right.
It's something that, for whatever reason, this aversion to it is something that you are learning and kind of training your body to do.
Yeah, I think so. So, to this person, I think the first thing is this. This is one of those cases, Nick, where I want to ask a million follow-ups.
Yeah, me too.
This is where we'd want that person in front of us so we could start asking questions about some of the beliefs they have around sex, some of what they learned about it, when they learned about it, what the stories they've heard about it are, how they've mythologized it a little bit. There's a lot that we probably need to unpack. But the directness of the question is, am I weird? And there's also the suggestion of, should I hire a hooker? Should I have a one-night stand? I'm going to tell you this. No. I don't want you to go that approach. And I know a lot of friends would tell you yes. They'd say, you know what? Just get it done with, right? Just get this done. You're going to realize it's not that exciting. It's done. The mythology will be over. And, and I can see their logic, right? I can see the logic of just get it done with. I think we've come too far for that. I think that now we're actually at the point where I want not to push you into this because I don't know what's going to happen emotionally and psychologically if you're already feeling depressed when the topic is brought up. Because of that extra aspect of depression, not hesitance, not nervousness, depression.
Right, yeah.
I'm not comfortable with you just diving in to see what happens. I would like you to get into therapy for this. And sex therapy, this is an opportunity for us to talk a little bit about sex therapy, which we don't get to talk about a lot on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Sex therapy is a discipline within psychotherapy. We have lots of colleagues that do it. I do some of it. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of issues that we experience as humans sexually, whether that's a lack of libido or hyper libido or sex aversion because of sex trauma. For some people, it's actually things like physical arousal, the inability to like perform and have sex. And so these are things that a lot of times we can feel are not things that get addressed with a therapist. They're things you might think you have to take to a gynecologist or a urologist. And the reality is, a lot of times, this is psychological. In fact, the DSM has an entire chapter for sexual disorders.
Right.
And so this is stuff that really can be addressed and ought to be addressed. But these beliefs surrounding sex are significant. I don't want to ignore them.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's kind of what I was thinking too. There is a lot of questions that I have, a lot of follow-up that I think this would be really good for this individual for you to get into therapy and talk to a professional.
Yeah.
I get your point, and I was kind of...
You want to rip the Band-Aid off?
No,
Are you volunteering? You want to take care of this person? Do a little physical therapy, Nick?
I didn't consider in the part that we were talking about depression.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because
yeah.
I also, I was going to say too that, whether you want to wait for someone special or whether you want to hire a sex worker and get it out of the way.
Right.
There's no fault in either one of those, in my opinion. You're fine either way.
I like it as a thoughtful approach.
It's whatever you feel comfortable with,
right.
Wherever you're at. I don't think you need to worry about being judged by other people. It's where your comfort level is at. But then throwing in the depression piece, I do see that point. Maybe it would be a good idea.
But here's where you're right. Where you're right. Is that if we look at this more in a phobia sense, then you're right. we should be looking to do in vivo therapy. And you should be considering how we're going to encounter this thing that we have built up and mystified, and we're going to come out the other side. And that's essentially exposure therapy.
Right.
And so I still like that approach, but I'd like it under the guidance of a therapist. The same way I would if somebody had arachnophobia. I wouldn't say, oh, what you need to do is just go freaking dive into a spider pit. You know, like...
Sure.
No, like I want you to first encounter with a therapist, make a plan, and then under their guidance, go do that.
Right. And if we were treating this like a phobia, there's a lot of different ways in which you deal with that. Like systematic desensitization is something that you would have a therapist kind of walking, having somebody that you can process everything.
Right.
There's also the flooding technique, which I wouldn't.
In a sexual context, all these sound so much more exciting than they really are. So Jacob's over there going, I don't know where they're at, but Jacob, hand check. Where are your hands?
I mean, this all just sounds great.
How do I sign up for this, guys? Does my insurance cover all this?
Flooding I kind of threw in as a joke, but flooding essentially is when you expose yourself to a really high degree of the thing that you're afraid of, because your anxiety level can't stay at that peak moment forever. It naturally has to come down.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be necessarily
in this particular situation. Into a body pit.
I do. I do think it would actually be a good idea. Get in, find a therapist, find somebody, establish a relationship with this therapist, and kind of talk some of this through. So no matter what you choose to do with this, how you choose to deal with it, you've at least got somebody that you can bounce some ideas off of.
Yeah, I'll tell you that.
And process